Hello and welcome. I wanted to hop on today and do another live talking about one topic that a lot of seniors have been frustrated by, which is that a lot of you say you're getting $23 in SNAP benefits. And so I have done extensive research on how you can get more benefits. So before we get started, I want to know where you're watching this live from. Let me know in the comments. I want to acknowledge you. I want to know where people are tuning in from because it's important for us to know, where you guys are listening to us from, so that we understand who we are reaching and all that. So thank you for joining. I want to talk about why a lot of seniors are getting $23 in food stamps. And that has caused a lot of frustration because that $23 was the same last year as the minimum benefit. So why do a lot of seniors get the minimum benefit in food stamps? Well, we're going to talk about it today in detail. And I have specific steps you can take to be able to get more benefits. So if you're tuning in, let me know where you're tuning in from. I want to know where you're listening from. It's important for us to understand where you guys are and who we're reaching and where. So let me know in the comments. Type in your city and state in the comments below. So let's jump right into it. So why are seniors getting $23? Part of it has to do with the fact that the $23 is the minimum SNAP benefit amount for one or two persons. So if you're a one person household or a two-person household, that is the minimum benefit you can get. And I'm going to walk you through the calculation of how your food stamps office is calculating your SNAP benefits and how they are arriving at $23. So stay tuned. I have some scenarios to share with you. And as I said before, let me know where you are watching this live from. If you're watching the replay, type below where you are listening from and where you're watching this from. It's really important for us to know where you guys are and where you're tuning in from. So, now the challenge is with inflation having gone up and stayed up, food prices have gone up and stayed up in a lot of places, actually the entire country. And so the question is, why hasn't the minimum benefit amount gone up? Well, we're going to talk about it. So if you want to really get an understanding why you're getting $23 or why your food stamps is so low, let's start with how SNAP benefits are calculated. But before that, let me acknowledge people who have tuned in. I see somebody from New York, Kat from New York, 925, 215 from Pennsylvania. We have Brian Gill from Virginia Beach. We have Carol from Santa Clara, California. And then we have Tracy from Illinois. Thank you for tuning in and joining us on this live. And so let's talk about how food stamps are calculated. So basically, they start with your gross income. So as a senior, you're probably on Social Security and maybe you have a part-time job that you're working or some other income that you have. That's your gross income. And then they're going to subtract allowable deductions, things like medical expenses over $35 a month, shelter costs, and then there are some standard deductions that they're going to subtract. And then that's going to give them your net income. And then they're going to multiply your net income by 0.3 or 30%. Why do they do that? Because if you're on low income, the government assumes that you're going to spend 30% of your income, your net income, on food. So they want to make sure that the money that you already have, you're spending 30% of it on food. And then food stamps or SNAP benefits is supposed to be supplemental. So it's supposed to help bridge the gap between what you are spending and what you really need to be spending. So that's why they have the maximum benefit by category, by household size. So the maximum benefit is the government's calculation of what a family of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on need to be spending on food. So the SNAP program is to bridge that gap between what you're spending and what the government thinks you should be spending on food to have a sustainable living. And that's what SNAP benefits are for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how this all happens. So welcome, Cindy from Minnesota. So let's talk about shelter deductions first, because that's one of the areas that a lot of seniors miss out on or don't really take all their shelter expenses and bring it to the table when they apply for food stamps. So what they do is that your shelter expenses include your rent and your mortgage plus utilities. And then that is your shelter cost minus 50% of your net income becomes your shelter deduction. And there's a cap on that, and that is $712 for the elderly or disabled. Why is that important? Because shelter plays a big role in your food stamps calculations. So let's say that you have $900 in rent and you have $300 in utilities. That's $1,200, and your net income is, let's say, $1,331. Well, let's do the calculation. So you have your shelter plus rent, which is $1,200, minus 50% of your net income. So that gives you $530, and that becomes your final deduction. Why am I sharing all this with you? Because you need to understand how they are calculating your food stamps benefits, so that if they've made a mistake or you are not claiming everything you should be claiming, then you can go back and have them recalculate. So that is why I'm going in detail, because a lot of seniors are frustrated that they are getting very low amounts of food stamps, and they are wondering why, or not sure why that is happening, because they think they are on low income and therefore should be getting more benefits they're getting, but they're not. So I want to help you, walk you through exactly how this works. Yes, Melissa is right. Some states have flat amounts for utilities. It's called the standard utility amount. And so rather than bringing all your bills for them to calculate, they have a standard amount. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. Again, I want to know where you're tuning in from. So let me know in the comment section below. If this is helping you, let me know in the chat below. So let's take an example of somebody. You have a single person who is a senior, and this probably may be hard to read, but I'll walk you through it. So you have $1,700 in Social Security retirement benefits. That's your gross income. Now let's apply deductions. So let's say that you have standard deduction that is taken out of $204. You have medical expenses, and I'm going to minimize myself so that I can maximize this on the screen. Well, that doesn't make any difference, so let's just stick with it. You're going to have medical expenses. So what are the medical expenses that you're having every month? You know, be above $35, and then you have shelter deductions, which we already calculated as 534 using the example that I gave you. So then let's walk through an example of what this person will get in food stamps benefit in this scenario. They have $1,700 in gross income, maybe Social Security benefits. They have a standard deduction of $204, $165 in medical deduction, $534 in shelter deductions, and then they have $797 in net income. Now, remember, I told you they're going to take 30% of that net income as the amount that that person should be spending on food. And the maximum benefit for a single person is actually $292. It says $291. It's actually $292. So if your net income is $797 and you should be spending 30% of that on food, it comes to $239. And then so what the government is going to do is that they're going to take the maximum benefit and then subtract it from the $239, and that becomes the amount of food stamps you're going to get. So in this particular scenario, this person is going to get $52. Even though they make $1,700 or they get $1,700 in Social Security benefits, and that is considered low income, because they are a household of one, and after deductions, the net income is so high. If you take out the amount you're supposed to be spending on food already, and then you then arrive at what the government sees that you should be spending, there is not much left. So the problem with why seniors get a low amount of food stamps is, one, because most of them are in a household of one, and two, the maximum benefit that is allowable for one person is $292. So once you do all the calculations and you take out what the government thinks you should be spending from your own money on food, there is not much left. But you can do something about it. And that is what this live is about. So let's talk about ways for you to increase your food stamps benefits if you are getting an amount that you think is too low. The first is to look at your medical deductions. This is where a lot of seniors can make up a lot of ground because you're spending money on things that is eating up your income, and they are deductible as far as food stamps applications are concerned. So medical and dental care expenses, prescription medication costs, and health insurance premiums. So when you go to apply or you go get a review of your food stamps benefits, bring all these expenses with you so that they can review it and make sure that you're getting the maximum benefit that you are eligible for. There are additional things that you can deduct: transportation, equipment, home health aids, service animal costs. All these things are all additional deductions that can be considered as part of your expenses. So here is what you should do. Here are some tips that will help you get more food stamps. Number one is when you go to apply or you are getting your current benefits reviewed, report all medical expenses. Bring all your medical expenses over $35 that you're experiencing on a monthly basis. And then keep records of your housing costs. Document all your housing and utility costs. And then track your transportation costs. And then inquire about the standard utility allowance. I know Melissa mentioned that some states have flat amount for utilities. Yes, that's called the standard utility allowance. And sometimes maybe that may be better for them to use versus your own expenses because maybe you're not tracking everything consistently. Thank you for joining, Cynthia from Somerset, Kentucky. So that is important that you know what is being deducted out and what you can do to keep track of your expenses in a way that will be helpful to you getting more money. Now, before I get into some more details, let's talk about some other opportunities for you to save money. If you don't know about these programs, hopefully you do. The first one is the Medicare Savings Plan. A lot of people don't know about this, but in most states, you can get help with your Medicare premium or some of your deductible. There is a low income home energy assistance program, and then there is the farmers market nutrition program, which are all available to seniors. Now, let's get back to talking about food stamps and how you can get more money. So I'm going to give an example of Sarah, a 68-year-old retired teacher living alone in an apartment. She was struggling to make ends meet until she applied for SNAP benefits. So let's look at her scenario. She was making $1,500 in Social Security retirement benefits, no additional person in her house, or no pension, occasional help from family she was getting. So let's look at her expenses so that you can compare to your expenses and see if something triggers something for you to go back and have your food stamps reviewed. So she had a medical expenses of $100 from diabetes medication and blood pressure pills. Her rent is $1,100 for a one-bedroom apartment. Her utility allowance, it was a standard utility allowance from her state, which was $300. And then all the essential is $200. After deductions, she qualified for $57 a month in benefits. And she was originally qualifying for the $23 minimum benefit. But because she was able to take her expenses, all of it, to the food stamps office and they had a review, she was almost able to double her food stamps from 23 to 57. So this allowed us to get more fresh fruit and vegetables. And you may not think it's a lot, but going from 23 to $57 means that you've doubled how much you are getting, which will go a long way in helping you to afford some more groceries. The next is a couple, John and Mary. Their income breakdown, they have $1,400 in John's Social Security benefits, and then $900 a month in Mary's Social Security. They have no additional pension income, and they have a small savings account, and their monthly expenses is $150 in medication, $1,200 in rent for a senior apartment, and the standard utility amount for the estate is $375. And then they have transportation costs to medical appointments, that's $85, and other essentials. So they were also getting the minimum amount. And after applying, um, they qualified for the minimum. And so they emailed me their situation. And my advice to them was go back and make sure that they are looking at all your, because there were medical expenses that they were not reporting or they didn't think they should, was deductible. And so they went back and had the whole case reviewed, and they were able to get $90 in food stamps from the minimum benefit. So my thing is that you cannot just take what you're given. You have to go back and have them review your case, because you never know what you're probably missing out on or not reporting accurately that can help you get more benefits. So here's what you can do. If you're getting food stamps and you don't like how much you're getting, here's what you can do. Number one, review your application. Have your SNAP office look on your application, gather all your expenses and housing records, and then contact them and ask them for a review of your food stamps amount to make sure that everything is being looked at. Now, you may go from $23 to $50. That's double. You may go from $23 to $70. You may go from $23 to $200. It's possible, because it all depends on, especially if you're a household of two and you're getting the minimum amount, there is definitely opportunity to get more, because the maximum amount for a household of two is $536, I believe. And so if you're getting the minimum 23, there's more room for you to be able to get more benefits. So it's realistic for you to be getting $23 and increase your benefits to about $200 with these tips. Now let's talk about some myths. A lot of seniors are hesitant to apply for food stamps because they think that they are taking benefits from other people or that there's some stigma around it. But here's the thing. If you have a food stamps EBC card and you go to a grocery store, nobody's going to know that you're paying with food stamps. It works like a debit card. You can just swipe it. And if you're buying all the eligible foods, nobody's going to know. So if you are eligible, you should apply. So a lot of seniors believe that only families are eligible for food stamps. That's not true. Seniors are eligible, and a lot of states have a very simplified application for seniors on food stamps. Also, people think that homeowners do not qualify. If you own a home, then you don't qualify for food stamps. That is also not true. A lot of homeowners are on food stamps because, remember, it is to help supplement your food expenses. And if you are eligible, you are going to get benefits. So some closing thoughts here. I think that understanding how the food stamps program works is important, and knowing that even if you are getting benefits right now, you can have your case reviewed, and you have to gather all your expenses and all the costs that you're spending on medication, transportation, housing, utilities, and go back to the SNAP office and have them review your benefits. And you'll be surprised what may end up happening, especially if you haven't been documenting or tracking all your expenses diligently. So get a review. And if you are currently receiving an amount that you don't think is fair, I want to hear about it in the comments. Let me know how much you're getting and whether you've had your case reviewed and how long you've been getting that amount, because for a lot of people, you'll be surprised. Even if you go from $23 to $50, that's a huge improvement. So I want to hear from you all in the comment section. Let me know where you're listening from. And until my next live, which is probably going to be tomorrow or Sunday, thank you for watching. And I hope this has been helpful to you.